Hey, what's up you guys, it's Caboose bringing you another Marvel's Avengers video, and today what I got for you guys here are the top 5 villains that I want to see the most in Marvel's Avengers. All 5 of these villains are iconic villains from the comic books, so that being said, I want to see all 5 of them get their due time. So pretty much everyone that I'm talking about here, I want to see them get their own story expansion, considering we know that the main story of Marvel's Avengers is going to focus around AIM and specifically MODOK. But before we get into my top 5, I wanted to ask you guys, of course, if at any point you enjoy this video, if you could consider leaving a like rating on it, it would show your support and I would really appreciate it. So if you enjoy the video at any point, leaving a like rating would be awesome. And with that said, well, let's jump into this. Take in mind that this is my list. These are my opinions, and you're allowed to have different opinions than me, so make sure you're sounding off in the comments with your villains wish list for Marvel's Avengers. But okay, at number 5, Victor Von Doom. Dr. Doom is a villain that I would love to see in this game. There is room for a potential expansion for the Fantastic Four if they were to introduce him, and I'd say without a doubt that this is a character that is most certainly an Avengers level threat. So I'd love to see him in the game, again, because it could open up an opportunity to introduce the Fantastic Four, and an expansion surrounding those characters where Dr. Doom is the main villain could be a lot of fun. We could get Latveria as a brand new region to explore. We can get like the Baxter building as our new hub world to go back to during this DLC. There's some serious potential here. So yeah, number 5, Dr. Doom. I want to see him in the game. And at number 4, I got a pretty iconic Avengers villain, someone that I feel a lot of people will know when I say their name, that being Ultron. This is without a doubt one of the more iconic, most well-known Avengers villains, especially considering it's one of the few Avengers villains that was explored in the MCU. However, if they were to introduce Ultron into Marvel's Avengers, I would like them to explore the more comic book origin of the character, having Hank Pym essentially be the one responsible for the creation of Ultron. I mean, we already know that Hank Pym is going to be one of the key characters that we interact with in Marvel's Avengers, so he's already been introduced, he already exists within the universe, so how cool would it be if they just explore the full-on comic book origin? You know, he forgets that he even created Ultron in the first place until Ultron shows up, and he kind of unravels that mystery himself. Then through that DLC, we could get Ant-Man as a playable character, or if they wanted to just continue to explore Ultron's origin, we could get Vision as a playable character, considering Vision is created by Ultron. Either way, just like I mentioned, Ultron is a very recognizable Avengers villain, and I'd say honestly, there's a really good chance that he's going to show up in the game. But hey, speaking of recognizable villains, at number 3, I got Loki. I feel like there's no way that this game goes however many years of content that they have planned without including Loki in the game in some way, shape, or form. And although the MCU and Tom Hiddleston's great portrayal of the character in the movies has certainly pushed the popularity of the character out there to such a wide audience, there's no denying that Loki has always been one of the key villains that the Avengers have faced off against. In fact, he is the first villain that the Avengers faced off against back in issue number 1 of the Avengers comic book in 1963. We know Thor is one of the playable characters that we're going to get at launch with Marvel's Avengers, and being able to explore his relationship between him and Loki in a fully fleshed out story expansion could be something very interesting. Plus, imagine the potential of having Asgard as its own explorable region in Marvel's Avengers. I think that could be really cool and a nice change of scenery from what we've seen from the game so far. I guess the only thing that I would be stumped on with the inclusion of Loki in the game would be how they could introduce a new DLC character to potentially tie in with it, unless they wanted to do something like maybe Beta Ray Bill, but that's really too similar to Thor. But even so, I hope the overall plan for DLC in Avengers from Crystal Dynamics isn't to always have a DLC character somehow relate to the story. Like, I hope at some point we're just gonna get story expansions. We don't always have to have a character tied to it, just a story with a brand new villain for the Avengers that we have playable in the game already to face off against. And with that said, I now bring you guys to the runner-up of villains that I want to see the most in this game, and this is a villain that I feel plenty of people who read the Avengers comic books will know about and will immediately be excited about if he were to be introduced in the game. But similar to MODOK, although maybe not on the same level of MODOK, this is a villain that not a lot of people know about, especially considering how huge the Avengers are in media and the amount of people that know about those characters. And the villain that I'm talking about, of course, is Kang the Conqueror. And if you don't know who Kang is, well, this is a time-traveling / multi-dimensional traveling villain that really only has one goal, and that is, as his name suggests, to conquer. Kang the Conqueror is, I believe, both a descendant of Reed Richards and Franklin Richards. He's a cool looking villain with a pretty interesting backstory that once again sort of ties into the Fantastic Four. So if they wanted to do a full-on dedicated Fantastic Four expansion, this is a villain just like Doctor Doom that could absolutely work as part of that. Although similar to what I was saying with Loki, this isn't necessarily a character that has to be introduced alongside DLC, and a character that I would like to see facing off against the Avengers, regardless if the Fantastic Four are involved or not. Also, if you're asking me, although this doesn't have to do with the game, I think that Kang should be the next big bad that's built up to in the MCU. But okay, number 1, the villain that I want to see the most in Marvel's Avengers. Pretty obvious at this point. I think everyone has guessed it, and there's no way you couldn't have. He is one of the most powerful villains in the Marvel Universe, a character that if you're Crystal Dynamics and you're making an Avengers game, you have to be thinking about a way to incorporate the character into the game, and it's none other than the almighty, all-powerful, inevitable one, Spider-Ham. That's right, you guessed it, come on. Spider-Ham as the main villain, the big bad that the Avengers DLCs will lead up to, that could be so awesome. He is such a cool character in comics, and clearly can take on any of the Avengers, regardless of... Oh, come on, please, just give me this one. What do you mean Thanos? Nobody wants to see Thanos in an Avengers game. Nobody cares about that guy. Oh, there was two $2 billion movies about Thanos? Alright, we'll talk about him then, fine. Of course it's gotta be Thanos. It's obvious, I know, but there's no way we can have an Avengers game without one of their most powerful, quintessential foes. It could open up a ton of opportunities for explorable regions in the game, having the Avengers go galactic. I mean, just imagine the different planets that we can go out and explore. And plus, there's also these rumors that Eidos Montreal is working on a Guardians of the Galaxy game. So how cool would it be if both games crossed over for a massive event in which the Avengers and the Guardians have to work together to take down Thanos? And I know all that sounds very similar or almost identical to Avengers Infinity War or Avengers Endgame. But even so, is that a bad thing? Those movies are so good. They're amazing. Who wouldn't want the ability to experience that in a game where we're the ones in control of the heroes? All I know is that it's one of my dreams to see a Destiny-style raid in Marvel's Avengers in which we have to take down Thanos, and I know that maybe I'm dreaming a little too big and I'm setting my expectations a little too high, but after all, this is a wish list video, so it's something that I'm wishing for. And whether or not my specific idea comes to fruition in some way in the game, I still just want to see Thanos in Marvel's Avengers, as like I've said, he's one of the quintessential Marvel villains, and it would be a shame not to include him. But with that said, I now want to kick it to you guys. As I mentioned at the top of the video, this is just my list. These are just my opinions. I want to hear yours, so sound off in the comments. What villains do you want to see most in Marvel's Avengers? And if you enjoyed today's video, if you could consider leaving a like rating on it, it would show your support, and I would really appreciate it. I'm Caboose, and you can click on screen to make your way to one of the other videos on the channel, or you can click my logo to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Those links are in the description. Drop a like if you enjoyed, leave a comment if you have an opinion, and subscribe if you're new. See you guys later.